Trying to get a nice buzz going for the call.
This is gonna be so.
Forrest, Forrest, no, come here.
Can we crop that out?
This is gonna be on the call too, because this one's working.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is so cute, you guys.
What's his name?
Forrest.
You need a real dog.
Horace?
Yeah, what kind of name is that?
Video unavailable.
Oh my lord.
You need a real dog. Hey, that's what I just said. You guys need Skype.
We had a viewer. All right, I'll just.
Yeah, let's just have everybody mute their mics. Oh, he found it.
What is that?
The donut.
Like a little dog donut?
Yeah.
Accept that.
Okay, Jordan says that one works.
This one's working?
Yeah.
Oh, we got Jordan, we got Nick.
All right, everybody, just mute your mics and we'll be okay. Hey, Nick.
Oh, Nick, you just changed.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Nick. Good, I can't hear him.
I can mute him.
You can mute him too?
Yep.
I see. I muted Shelby. All right, let's see if I can mute Kristin and Dolan.
Just Dolan.
Okay.
All right, well, I guess we'll start because this has been a mess so far.
Yeah, Google Hangout's not easy. We got to work before. Let's see. This works. Okay, this one's working. That's Jordan.
I'll do it. Oh. Just follow Nick around this place. No big deal.
It's got mine tweak all over his posters. Look at
There's
you.
some sweet posters.
We're getting a tour next
one up?
place.
Okay.
All right, you want to introduce our lovely guests?
Oh, okay. Can I see them, please? Well, I want to look at them when I introduce them. Hey. Okay, everybody. Sorry for the first 10 minutes of mess, but today we have Dr. Ryan and Dr. Kristin, who just opened in Knoxville, Tennessee, about 2 months ago. What month is it? 2 months?
10 weeks.
10 weeks.
10 weeks. Okay, great. So they are going to answer the questions that we all posted on the club page. And yeah, it's going to be great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it. This is kind of cool. This is our first Google Hangout, so you're going to have to bear with us a little bit. These were awesome questions, by the way. You guys are really get into a lot of good things, a lot of mindset, a lot of things that we could have done better. And that's obviously a huge thing. Like, you go to all these different ribbon cuttings and go to all these offices, and a lot of it is awesome things you could take away and implement, but a lot of it is like what not to do. And like, you learn from the doctor's mistakes on like, I don't know, like we've been to so many ribbon cuttings where it's like, all right, let's not do this at ours. Let's do this. So, I mean, we're going to share obviously what we would have done better, what we did good. So
We did well.
what we did well, whatever, you know, I can't speak proper grammar, so that's fine.
So somebody asked about roles in the office, and we're going to get to that, but one of mine is speaking in the office. But okay, so yeah, like you said, you guys had some really fantastic questions, and they kind of fell into a couple categories, so I kind of divided them up based on that. So one of the first ones was just kind of like our challenges and our successes of our opening process, our jumpstart process. So a little bit of a backstory: we graduated in December, and then we opened June 12th. So it took us just under 6 months to get open, and that was about a good timeline for us. We were, of course, pushing for that 4-month opening date that everybody wants to get to. But that's just not the way things panned out for us. And looking back, I don't think we were ready at 4 months.
Yeah, probably not.
No. So there's a lot to get done, and it's not anything that we could cover in a short phone call like this. But we'll start with Callan's first question was the biggest challenges that we ran into either in practice or in the Jumpstart process, and how did we handle it and what did we learn? So the biggest challenge of actually getting the office open is coordinating other people. What you quickly learn is that a lot of it doesn't depend on you. A lot of it depends on other people. So your contractor, your landlord, your banker, your architect, your engineers, your flooring people, you know, it's everybody that you have to coordinate everything to happen at the exact right moment. And the biggest problem with that is, especially when it comes to your landlord and your banker, if you're planning on getting a line of credit or a loan or anything like that, is nobody wants to be the first to commit. So your banker doesn't want to be the first to sign over a loan without seeing your lease. And your landlord doesn't want to let you sign a lease without knowing that you have money in the bank. So little things like that, it becomes very difficult, and a lot of it depends on you being able to present yourself in a way that they feel confident in going into that deal with you. So that's what a lot of the Jumpstart provided for us, was especially with the business plan and through all the trainings that we went through school, being able to present ourselves in that way that people felt confident in being able to commit to that deal with us. The note that Ryan wrote down.
She just wanted to let me talk. I'm
sorry.
staring into the computer screen the whole time.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, we're gonna be totally transparent. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to post those. And I think this is the group chat over here. Maybe not, because Evan doesn't know how to work this. But so yeah, if you guys have any questions at any point, we'll answer whatever you have. And I'll be honest, like the Jumpstart program is awesome. It gives you the tools, like it gives you a really good backbone or skeleton on what to do. It's just there's so many little things that you don't really expect. Like for one, our contractor, they weren't really the most upfront in when they were going to be done with everything. So it's kind of just like a waiting game. It's out of our hands. Just tiny things like that. Like obviously dealing with Jeff or
Sim's dad.
Jim, I think Jim, Sim's dad, they're doing awesome. They're doing everything on the front end or back end of it, I guess, dealing with your lease. So you really don't have to do any of that, but there's just so many little things that come up that you have no idea like what to expect. Like just one thing, for example, our utility bill, just to get our utilities in our space was $650 just to get it transferred over. And I mean, it's just an we weren't planning on that at all. So
Yeah.
just tiny things like that come up. Just to get our sign on the monument sign, our landlord wanted us to pay $3,000 for that. So there's all these tiny little monetary things that add up, and that's just one of the things that the Jumpstart process, they kind of touch on it, but they don't really give you like hard numbers on like what stuff's going to cost. And obviously they can't do that because every place is going to be different, but there's just a lot of unexpected things that we ran into. And those are the two that I could really think of off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
and then nothing gets done on time. That's what I wrote.
Nothing.
Oh, another thing was our attorney fees. Like we were just expecting to go in, have him read our lease, and then really that was the end of it. Then he came back and charged us for like this back work he was doing, like researching things to get on that our landlord put in the lease, and then we had to go back and get revisions, and then we got like a $2,000 bill after that. So that was fun to get in the mail. But yeah, nothing getting done on time. That was a huge thing for us, just because you're planning all these things, like you're planning your ribbon cutting, and then our contractor forgets to like order doors, and like it's 2 days before our ribbon cutting, and we don't have metal framed doors yet, and the inspector's coming the next day, and it's like it's hard to kind of manage, like Kristin was saying, manage all these different people and make sure they're on top of their game and make sure they're getting everything done. So I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges, is because you really want to be out in the marketplace, going to all the different B2Bs, doing the one-to-ones, doing all that different things to open your practice and get it ready. but at the same time, you want to make sure everyone's getting everything done in the office so it's ready for your ribbon cutting. So there's really a healthy balance. Like, unfortunately, this is definitely something that I wish I would have changed. I was definitely in the office way more than I should have been opening up. I should have been out doing more B2B, and I just felt like I was there holding their hand the whole time, just because I would go there and they would have like nothing done and they were doing things wrong, and I was just there correcting them. I had to help them do half the stuff. So that's definitely one thing I would have changed going back on it. I would have just kind of, obviously I would have hired another contractor, but
yeah.
All right, we go on to the next
We have a lot of questions.
questions.
See, this is why I don't let him talk too long. Okay, just kidding. So this was Nick Shelby's question. So what's been the best and worst part of our experiences so far? So I said the best part is definitely once you get open, and it starts at your ribbon cutting when people walk in the office and they just go, wow. That's the coolest part, because especially as an amped office, we kind of set the standard of, and it's not really what your office looks like, but it's the way you've presented yourself over the last few months. And you've set that standard, and then they get to see all the work that you've been doing behind the scenes in between the meetings that you've had, and they get to see this finished product that just blows them away. And then, of course, once people get under care, they get so excited that, you know, they've never heard chiropractic can do this, and then you get to be that person that actually delivers that adjustment that changes their life. So that's the coolest part, is actually getting to do the things that we've been trained to do. But the worst part is, at least up to this point, has been the slow times for us, and it's going to happen. It happened in the offices that we peaked at. There's going to be slow times where you are literally just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, and it hurts the most when it's your first few weeks open and you want nothing more than for that place to be bumping, but you can only have so many people come through your doors on a daily basis. So having those slow times, you just have to know and trust the process, that you've done everything that you can up to that point. And there's things that you can do in the office that are going to put butts in seats. So you just got to put your efforts towards that and just trust that everything's going to work out. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so Kristin will candy coat everything. I'm going to give you the real transparent details of what we did our first couple weeks and whatever. So we didn't have the best start. We didn't have the start that we were planning for. We had a lot of people on the books, and then we had a lot of people not show up. And we're going to go into more detail on what we would do differently about that in a couple questions away. But today was a really good example of what one of the worst part is in practice. Like Kristin was talking about, those slow times. Like today we probably had 7 or 8 no-shows on adjustments, and that's fine. I get it. People have things to do. They have things come up. But it's just like, you're sitting there for that long and you're just sitting at the computer like, what should I be doing? I should be doing something right now to get more people in the doors. We had 3 people for new practice member appointments today. Those all went great. But then we had 3 people come in, get their report of findings, and not one of them committed to care. So I would say today was probably one of the worst days in our office, just because we were sitting there for the majority of the day. We were waiting for people to come in for the doctor's report, and then we didn't get commitment at the doctor's report. And then at the end of the day, we're kind of hanging our heads like, man, like, what did we do wrong? Where are we messing up? And just that, it's kind of like, what are we doing wrong? And it's definitely a mindset shift. Like I was talking to Kristin after we were closed, and I was like, we need to change something. Our procedures are good. It's just like where our mindset's at. We're not focused. We're not doing the things we need to do. Yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on each question. We have a lot that we would love to share. And if we don't get to your question, because we could probably talk about each of these for 30 minutes each, but just reach out to us, like he said before. Okay, so going to the next one came from Walter. What's up, Walter? He came up to scream for us. He was awesome. What made you choose to open a line of credit instead of taking out a loan? And if we choose a line of credit, how do we ensure it doesn't get frozen? So this is one of the things that we ran into. Normally, you do not have to worry about your line of credit getting frozen. That only happened to us. Well, first, why do we choose a line of credit? So a line of credit, you only pay on what you use. So we have a $100,000 line of credit. We would only take out of that $100,000 what we needed at that time. So $10,000 at a time, whatever it is. What's up, Huey? We would take that out at that time, and then you only pay on the amount that you've actually taken out. Whereas opposed to a loan, if we had a $100,000 loan, we would start paying interest on that $100,000 right from the start. So just a difference there. Now, the reason ours got frozen was and this comes again to the timing of everything. We signed for our line of credit before we had signed for our lease. And we had signed for our line of credit with the understanding that the bank would have rights to our property should we default on anything. Well, when it came time to sign the lease, and we did, a couple weeks later, when the bank actually got to reading through it, they didn't like the verbiage that was in there, and they didn't feel that it was sufficient to give them rights to all of our stuff. So they froze our line of credit until it was fixed, which was about a month. Mm-hmm. So for about a month, in the middle of our build out, we didn't have access to any money.
Yeah, so we actually, good thing we knew our contractor, so we actually had to delay that like a month of actually paying them. But yeah. I'm also going to be transparent again, because Kristin didn't mention this, why we got the line of credit. We used the same bank and banker that Dr. Sarah got her line of credit through, so that was, we had an in with the bank already. So if you're going to the town and you have an established bank there, or you know someone that has an established bank there, definitely use whatever contacts you can. Because that really just paved the way that it was kind of an easy in for us. Granted, our banker got fired or laid off about a month into getting our line of credit, so we had to switch bankers, and that was kind of a big mess after that. But yeah, if you can find anyone that has any connections to any of the banks, that knows any of the lenders, that would be an awesome opportunity just to kind of go in and pitch your business plan to them, because that's just, that made it a lot easier for us. Oh, and we also had to put $35,000 down to get that line of credit. Let's not leave that out too, because that sucks.
Yeah, so on that line, everybody save as much money as you physically can. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about how we actually did that. There's a lot of little things that you can do throughout school to help you have some money in the bank, because that's what the bank wants to see.
All right, Hewitt's question. Things to look for when selecting contractors that you may not be thinking of moving to a new area. I will do this one real quickly. Don't choose the most expensive or the cheapest. They go over that in the Jumpstart. Someone that's easy to get a hold of, obviously. Now, what we didn't do is go look at previous things that they've done. Like, if you see on their website that they've done this building, go to that building and look. Like, look at the paint lines, look at the trim, look at everything that they did, and make sure it's something that you'd be comfortable looking at every day. Because I'll tell you right now, our baseboards in our place are very terrible looking. It's
our walls are not straight.
Yeah, it's a mess. But I mean, it looks good. People don't notice, but I notice it. So definitely go to places that they've done before and just kind of look to see what quality of work they do. Yeah. All right. Next question is from Shelby.
Just gonna call
he got that. Yeah. What did your 90-day marketing plan look like, and what activities were the most fruitful for you guys? Is there anything you wish you would have done differently leading up to your ribbon cutting?
Okay, so this is again something that they cover a lot. We went to literally everything, and it is a lot. So there's another question later on. I forget who it is that asked it. But they were asking what our normal day looked like. We normally got to our first networking meeting probably 7:30, 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on the day, what time they started. When we first started going networking, when we first started our whole process, we went together. A lot of people, if you're opening with your spouse, a lot of people like seeing you with your spouse. They think it's adorable. But from there on out, we kind of divided and conquered as things got a little bit more busy, and people knew us as a couple, so they attributed us together with Thrive. Now, if you're going single and solo, that's awesome, and you can just hit as much as you can on your own, and you're gonna rock it anyway. But it is exhausting, I will say that. So I'm very much an introvert naturally, but
me too.
Yes, we're both naturally that way. But your job for your Jumpstart process is to be an extrovert. You have to go and you have to talk to people and you have to be bubbly the entire time. They need to see you smiling and putting on a happy face. And it is exhausting, I will tell you that. So we went to literally everything we could find.
Yeah, so we joined 2 chambers in the surrounding areas. We joined 2 different BNIs, one networking group that had like 6 different groups that we went to. We went to every single ribbon cutting from both chambers. Both chambers had specific weekly networking groups that we went to. Kristin went to all the women's groups. I tried to go. They wouldn't let me go into them though. Men's groups, we really didn't have any of those around here. La Leche League meetings, Kristin kind of spearheaded that, and we're actually having those meetings at our office now, which is kind of cool. Birth group seminars, I didn't go to any of those. Kristin did those. Yeah, so we really went to everything we could and then mixed B2B in between that and then the one-to-ones in between that. I will tell you that the one-to-ones are awesome and you need to do them, but definitely be selective on who you're doing them with. Now, we scheduled one-to-ones with everyone we could, but take in mind that each time you schedule a one-to-one, you're scheduling a block of an hour and a half of time doing those because you're driving to, say, Panera, doing your one-on-one, which is about an hour, and then they'll probably talk for a little longer trying to sell you something. And then you're going to have to drive somewhere else to go to a different meeting. And that's usually about an hour and a half. So you have like 2 or 3 of those scheduled in a day. That's like, it's like 4.5 hours right there. So you're pretty much going to a network. This will answer a question down the road. We'll get it out of the way now. We'd wake up 5, 6 o'clock, go to a networking meeting at 7:30, do some one-to-ones for a little bit, then do some B2B if we have time. And then there was usually a networking group at night and we would go to that as well. So that was really the majority of what our days looked like. Our most fruitful has been BNI, just because it's the most structured group you'll be part of. If there's one in your town, definitely join it 100%, no questions asked. I'm just going to stop there. So do one-to-ones with those people because you'll be with those people every week and they're actively passing you referrals and they'll get under care themselves. We have 0 people under care from both of our chambers. I don't know if that's just because of us on how we weren't really pushy and having them come in and schedule appointments. But yeah, that really wasn't fruitful for us. Obviously, it was good getting our name out there so people recognized our brand, what we're doing, why we do it, but it really wasn't fruitful in regards of getting people into the office. So one thing I would definitely do, we did a lot of talks throughout that time too for each of the groups, and I would say, I'm going to repeat this over and over again, and Grant Lister is probably the one, if you really want to get a good answer of this, talk to him about it. Take deposits with everything you do. Because we had about 100 and something people on the books for our first 2-3 weeks. And
sorry,
I don't know, but yeah, we had the majority of those, we were doing events like a month and a half, a month out, and we weren't taking deposits, and our show up rate was abysmal. We probably had like a 20% show up, if that. It was really bad. So I would say no matter how far out you are, take deposits because those people are more than likely to reschedule if it's that far out.
Yeah. Yeah, to tell you the reality of our first day open, I think we had 26 people on the books for Monday, day 1, and we had 7 people show up. And we had hired a CA who was supposed to start that following week. She quit that next day. She hadn't even started yet, and she quit. So you talk about, like, this process is hard, guys, and it will kick you in the teeth when you're down, and you just got to be ready for it. There's no way to really get over it. You just have to be expecting that something is going to happen, and then when it does, you're like, okay, well, there it is. I was ready for something to happen. So we're just going to be very blunt about this. We're doing fine in practice. We're not breaking any records, but just to show you the reality of it is really hard work. So not to be a downer, but we just want to set a reality of, you know, this isn't easy, and you know, it can happen. You know, you guys can blow it out of the water right out of the gate, but it's a lot of work, and you got to put in the effort for it.
Yeah, leading up to that, things I would have done differently with that. I would have, if you haven't watched, I forget who it was that actually posted the fishbowl campaign. Do that right when you get into your community, or not right, probably like a month out. Set all the fishbowls up you can, and then schedule as many lunch and learns as you can before you open, and then take deposits there. Because we only did, I think, like 5 health talks, maybe before we opened, and the show up rate from those was like 0. So that was really just a waste of time for us, but it was a learning experience. So now we can give it to you guys so that you guys can learn from our mistakes. So you're welcome.
Just take deposits.
Yeah. So this is from David. Was there anything you would have done differently during your ribbon cutting to make it more efficient? So we had 2 different ribbon cuttings, and that's because we had 2 chambers, and we asked a couple of people, and they were like, yeah, you should have it on different days. I don't know why. But things we would have done differently to make it more effective. Obviously, if we had more students there, that would have made it more effective. But if I had to go back and do it again, I would only have one. Sorry, Evan, you did it. Callan, you were awesome. But I would only have one ribbon cutting if I can go back and do it again, because we had a lot of appointments made at our ribbon cutting, but again, our show up rate was very, very low because we didn't take deposits at it. If we had one ribbon cutting, that would have, all the people that wanted to be there, they would have been there. And all the people that were just kind of showing up, showing your support. And again, that's awesome. You want them to be there, want them to show their support, but you really want to get the people there that want to see you succeed and want to be a part of your practice. So that's one thing I would do differently.
It was still a lot of fun though. And we collected money for a local animal shelter, which is awesome. Okay, anyway. What was the most effective way of inviting people? So we just printed out 500 flyers for our ribbon cutting, and we took them with us everywhere. We went B2B to a couple places around us and just kind of handed them out to the local businesses. We had a Facebook page that we invited anybody and everybody to. We did a couple Instagram and Facebook posts just promoting some of the raffle prizes that we would be doing. We could have probably done a few more of those.
Yeah, one thing that I saw Josiah was doing after we had our ribbon cutting, which I thought was awesome, like each day he was posting like a different raffle prize in front of the building that he got it from, and I thought that was just a really good way of like leading up, like making people anticipate what cool prizes they were going to win if they showed up. So shout out to Josiah, that was a really good idea on his part.
Yeah, we should have done that.
All right, Hewitt's question, we could skip that.
It was just a question about the chamber and BNI. So love you. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but BNI, join it. Just join it. We had 7 different ones that were available to us that we could have joined. We went and shopped around to the ones that fit us best and were the best option for us, and then we each joined one. BNI is by far the best networking thing that we've done. Like we talked about, your chambers, your little networking groups that just kind of meet up and sit in a circle and talk about who they are and what they've done that week. They don't really have a structure to pass referrals, so they're really all just there to hand out their business card and feel like they did something that day, which is good, and you should go to those anyway to get your name out there. But it's not the structure that BNI has, and it's not going to get you as much referrals.
So Jesse asked what your average day looked like. We went over that already. Then his next question was, if you could go back and do it all over again, would you have spent more time marketing in your community? So we spent a ton of time in the community. Again, I would just do more B2B, more setting up those health talks. I don't think we did a really great job in actually setting health talks up from going B2B. I definitely think we could have been stronger in that. So as students, I encourage you to go out to all of your offices around there and go to all the businesses you wouldn't think of going into. Go to nail salons, go to all those that you normally skip over because they'll just chase you out with their nail clippers or whatever. But yeah, just go do that, toughen your skin. I know you guys are doing a lot of screenings and everything, but the B2B, that's really where your fruit's gonna come from when setting those talks up.
Yeah.
Jordan's question is, what is the best thing you have learned about networking and doing one-to-one appointments? Is there something you would recommend not doing? Yes.
Don't go to one-to-ones. If you're with somebody else, do one-to-ones on your own. It's a waste of time for you both to be there. We talked about one-to-ones a little bit. They are just a time suck. So at first you're going to want to do them with everybody, but as you get further along, be very selective. There's going to be a ton of people who just want to sell you whatever crap they have to sell you. So just be selective. They're probably going to try to get you to sell their supplements in your office, or a massage therapist is going to want to be in your office on Saturdays or something like that, and you just get really used to saying no.
Yeah, and just go to everything. Like we were saying before, consistency is key. Obviously, that was a huge thing in the conference this past month. But yeah, just keep showing up and people will know who you are. Like I met someone, I think this past month at a networking meeting that I met like 6 months ago, and they remembered that I sent them a thank you card. And I was like, I don't even remember meeting you, but that's awesome. So just things like that. And the thank you cards are huge. And if your students, Hewitt knows, I told him he probably hasn't written any yet, but that's fine. Write as many thank you cards as you can as a student, just because we went through at least 700 of them really quickly. So if you need a template for that, just shoot me a message. I'll send you that over. It's super easy. Yeah, just the one-to-ones. Be selective with who you're doing that on. Hey, Michael. All right, so picking location. These are a couple questions we got. Brendan Hart was one. What were both of your non-negotiables that made you pick the location of your city?
So, yeah, and Kent's question was kind of a good opener for this.
Yeah, so Kent's questions, I know that you guys didn't make your decision from where you wanted to end up until you were peaking, but what things stood out to you that made you switch the city you were planning to go to and end up in Knoxville? What were some of your non-negotiables?
So probably since 8th quarter, maybe, we were planning on opening in Charleston, South Carolina. And that was the plan until we were going into 14th quarter. And we went to go visit on that break between 13th and 14th. We went to Charleston to go start looking at office spaces. And long story short, it was a gut feeling. We didn't think it was right. It was somewhere we wanted to visit and not open. So not getting too much into it, but it just wasn't a good fit for us. And we were kind of left just trying to figure out where the next step was. And we came to Knoxville to peak with Dr. Sarah Nelson. And very quickly, Knoxville became home to us. So we had to have a conversation with her to see what that looked like for us to be here. And she's been our biggest supporter ever since then. It's been awesome having her here and having her support and guidance. It is a little weird sometimes because she has all these interns that are doing what we did and peaking. And so they're going to all the networking events that we're at, which is kind of cool because we kind of say the same thing, but it's cool that we get to start taking over the platform of chiropractic and knowing that, what? Oh, hey, I just saw your message. So we're redefining what chiropractic is by having both of us here, which is cool. We just have to be conscious of, not each other's territory, but just conscious of the other person's office,
So I didn't have any non-negotiables. Obviously, I want it to be by some body of water, and it's not really how you should pick where you want to end up. As far as like other non-negotiables, I'm pretty much a chameleon. I'll be fine wherever I am, and honestly, I didn't have any of those. Like I just wanted to I wanted to like the place I live. That's really about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there was a non-negotiable that if the place didn't have it, but we liked the place, we wouldn't have gone there. I think our biggest thing was we wanted to be over on the East Coast because I'm from Pennsylvania, he's from New Jersey, so we just wanted to be in kind of a driving distance for that. But as far as anything else, there wasn't.
It's ugly.
It's a cute dog. Shut up. As far as like I need to be by mountains or I need to be by a body of water, or I know Dr. Viscarelli talks about he needed to be by an international airport. That wasn't for us. We just really wanted to like where we live, and we love it here. So it just kind of happened so that we fell into it and we were led here.
All right, so these next questions are on mindset. So what was the most, this is from Brendan Hart, what was the most challenging part of transitioning from the student to doctor business owner mindset? We're definitely still working on that for sure. Business owner mindset, that's something totally different. I feel like that comes with practice. Obviously, you're juggling a lot of different hats now. Your personal finances, business owner,
but you don't have to do that.
Whatever, dealing with people all day, dealing with each other, dealing with patients, dealing with your dog. It's as far as being a doctor mindset, I mean, you really do learn a lot at peak. So you kind of just transition that over to being a doctor. Obviously, now that we're on our own, the responsibility is totally on our shoulders. So like if we mess up, we mess up. Like this past weekend, I'll give you an example. We had 2 screenings and one was 3 days. We had 0 deposits the entire weekend.
It was at a consignment shop.
It was literally the worst
horrible
screenings we've ever done. and like just that to us, like we paid for these screenings. We went there, we stayed the whole time. And like that's just like a kick to the teeth right there. You're like, man, we invested all this time doing that. And now that's on our shoulders. Like we don't have a full schedule this next week. So just that's one of the things that we have to work on. That's really a mindset thing of like shifting that to we could have done better, and we are helping people right now, and someone that we talked to this weekend might in the future give us a call, and that's probably not the best thing to do either. But
that's a silver lining. Yeah, and this is something that we've talked about with we have our Wolf Pack, which is just a couple other couples that we graduated with who went through the Jumpstart process together. And we've kind of all struggled with this, especially with screenings, is switching from that student to doctor/business owner. Because as a student, you're kind of just like balls to the wall, let's get anybody in the door, which is awesome. But when you switch to the business owner and the doctor, especially when your daily basis is going and presenting yourself as a professional, going and standing at the flea market and trying to get anybody in your booth feels very contradictory. So that is the biggest struggle that we've dealt with a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be transparent with that. Like at events, say I was screening for a doc, I would literally talk to every single person that walked by. And now that we're our own place and representing ourselves, it's kind of like we don't want to step out of the box that we're in and kind of put ourselves on the line, which is totally the wrong mindset to have. But that's just, I don't know why. We definitely have to get over that for sure. And that's one of the struggles that we've been dealing with. Just kind of like just dropping everything and just doing that like we're students again, just talking to every single person and not worrying about if they're like, no, go sit down or whatever. I don't know. I didn't want.
You made that very PG. Yeah. So that's been the biggest struggle with us, and I think that's where a lot of that has transitioned into the office, and why we're not seeing as many people is honestly because we're not as salesy. We've been very soft on people because we're kind of in that I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I want to leave people feeling with a good feeling towards our office, which I don't think is a bad thing. But when it's transitioning to all parts of our marketing, and that's hurting our overall, that's where I think we're struggling the most, and that's our biggest mindset shift right now that we are still working on, to be completely transparent. And we'll be having a couple students come up to screen for us soon, so we can get you guys to kick us in the butt too.
So what has helped, this is from Jesse again, what has helped you the most in regards for asking a deposit for a screening versus asking someone a PIF sign up for care? I don't know. I kind of think it's the same thing as a student. Like if you're asking for a screening deposit, I find it the same as asking for a PIF or closing someone on. Because by the time they've gone through all of your day one process and then your report of findings, like if they don't want it, they don't want it. It's easy. Like just present them the care plan and they're going to pick one. It's easy. Screening, you kind of have to take them like raw meat and then have them buy into chiropractic right then and there. But after like closing someone a PIF or sign up, they've gone through everything. So they want the care at that point. If not, then they'll be back.
Evan.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I kind of agree. I agree. It is, I see where you're coming from, Jesse, in that it feels weird to ask somebody for like $2,000. But by that point, especially when you're in the office for a bit, you know you're going to see this person multiple times for the next year. It's $2,000. You're going to change this person's life. $20 at a screening, again, not a big deal. It just kind of, I see where you're coming from, but it transitions well once you're in the office.
So another question from Jesse, what would you tell yourself 6 months ago, and what could you have done better to be better prepared? Take deposits, again, that's another huge thing that I would say to do. Get out of your comfort zone for sure. Take what you do as a student and transfer it over to a doctor. Don't be scared of like giving yourself a bad brand or giving yourself like a bad name or showing, or just literally do everything that you possibly can to talk to people. Call everyone. So another big thing that we definitely dropped the ball on is calling people back and following up. Like after a screening and you don't schedule a bunch of people, like they don't make appointments and you have a stack of papers, call them the following week. Like we waited probably 3 weeks to start calling people back. And by that time they forgot who you are. They don't care about getting a neurological evaluation in your office. And they're like, no, I'm okay. And clearly they're not. They stopped by, they were interested. So definitely be on the ball with that, follow up as soon as possible. And I think calling people, obviously everyone nowadays is switching to text messages, and I don't know, in our office, I feel like people just look at text messages and then just don't even look at it again, and they have no like
conviction.
Yeah, it just doesn't sit with them or something. So I think calling people and actually having that touch point is another huge thing that we definitely need to change.
You will get hung up on. It's okay.
So in office, Kristin will probably touch on this one. What are our roles in the office and how did you decide on how to split those? Actually, I'll tell you first a little backstory. I just got licensed about 3 weeks ago. So Chris, I failed PT boards because I'm that principled. But yeah, so Kristin was pretty much the doctor role for the first 2 months of being open. Yeah, I just did the CA. I was really office manager, front office, doing all the paperwork and everything, which is fine. I was fine with that. And I think we were just talking about it tonight. Like we should probably split the office roles up just so one of us has a more doctor role and the other one, since we don't have a CA right now, we need someone to be up front, technically being like the office manager and taking a lot of that responsibility. So that's really how we're probably going to split the roles in the future.
Yeah. When you first get open, everybody does everything. But moving forward, and you'll kind of be able to figure out where your strengths are. He's naturally taken over the CA office manager role really well. He's a lot better as far as the details go and keeping that all organized and actually following through on things. I'm the kind of person where I'll kind of start something and then like 3/4 of the way I'll just stop, or as soon as I get to something that doesn't make sense, I stop, which is not good. Don't do that. So he's been really great with taking over that role. And then, you know, when it comes to table talk, I'm much more of a talker, so I can easily table talk with people about how their weekend was and how their body's doing and how their symptoms are progressing and how their first reassessment's coming up, and I can remember what's going on with their family and things like that. So that's been a lot easier for me, whereas when he goes back to adjust, it is quiet. But that's just the way it is. And
Attention.
yeah, he's very intentional. It's all good. But you know, that's the things that we had to figure out, because if you talk to a lot of other offices, usually it's the reversal of that. But that's just not the way it was for us, and that's okay, and that's something that we had to figure out for ourselves. And that's the way it's working in our office.
6 month, this is Thomas, his question. What are some of your 6 month and yearly goals, and how did you come up with those numbers? So we actually did, I think it was what, 2 month goals?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our 2 month goals was 200 visits a week by the end of August, and I don't think we're going to hit that, unfortunately, and we're still pushing for it, but I don't think that's going to be a reality. So we're going to have to redo our goals at the end of August, and
it's going to be a crazy 2 weeks if we hit that.
We really focused a lot on our personal goals, just because I feel like our personal lives were definitely slipping, and obviously we need to build the business up as well. But as far as like the 6 month and yearly goals, we had them. I think it was what, 350 that we wanted to see by the end of year one.
450.
450 by the end of the year, and that's a pretty big difference. But we really want to focus on the short-term goal right now, just because it's really crunch time, and we're like what kind of momentum we're going to have moving forward throughout the year. And it was just coming off this conference, and we really wanted to get the ball rolling with a lot of our marketing and getting people under care and getting people well. So as far as the six month goal and yearly goals, those are obviously good to have, and you should have them, but that's really not what we were focusing on this second.
We're doing a video call. Okay, so I think that was the last question we had. And there was something that something that you said. So about your personal life. So going through this process, you know, we talked about you're going to be busy. You're going to be really, really busy, and it's going to suck. But I think it's really, really important that you take time for yourself. You know, once a month, take a weekend, go hike, go out to eat. All right, well, I think it's very important, because otherwise you will get burnt out and you will open and you will have nothing left to give to everybody. Especially like I talked about how we are naturally introverts. We get our energy, however that works, we get our energy from being by ourselves and being quiet. So if you are constantly go, 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 which you should be during the week, and then you never refuel on the weekend, you are going to burn out so quickly. So for us, like my me time was going to the gym. I got to go hang out with my friends. It was just my release. I got to go just be there by myself. Not a big deal. He got to go to his gym. He'd come home, watch a movie. You know, I might read a book or something like that. It was just our me time, and maybe we should have been better about that and just push harder. But I think that's important even through your first couple months being open. But just be more intentional about it. You know, if you're going to take your you time, it's your you time. Don't think about anything else. And then when it's time to go, go. Don't take those little breaks in between of hopping on Facebook for 10 minutes to just blank out for 10 minutes. You got to be more intentional with your time and focus on one or the other. You can't have that in between of it. So I think most people are introverts, so just accept that. That's not a bad thing. But it's important to realize that it's important to feed yourself.
Yeah. So Evan just asked how early did we contact Hallberg? So we contacted him about a year before we graduated, and he's like, "This is too early." But he gave us some spaces, like when we were looking in Charleston to go like tour some offices down there. Excuse me. And so we were working with him probably, that was in December, probably November or just, no. September, I think we started actually like talking to him and having him look at some spaces, and then we looked at some in December, right? No, that would have been before
I'm
that.
so lost by where you're going. Okay.
Like 6 months before we opened.
Yeah.
Or graduated.
Yeah, any more than that, and he's going to tell you, he'll get in touch with you closer to game time. But just get your name on the list, and then he knows to be ready for you when you're ready. Somebody else asked a question. Insurance companies? You would ask something about insurance companies?
What has it been like dealing with insurance companies?
Insurance sucks. So we are currently in network with Medicare and United. Blue Cross closed their network to Tennessee, so we can't even get a network if we wanted to. We use Shannon and Bill Berg. I recommend them. They've been awesome for us. We shoot them probably 10 questions a day because we don't know what we're doing still. And they're awesome. They always answer them for us. We've had a couple trainings with them. You know, we screw something up, they're ready to fix it for us. I made a big mistake and it cost us like $400. So, you know, but it happens. And they will also be very real with you. And just tell you that you're going to screw up and cost yourself $400. But it gets better over time.
Great question, Ken. All right, so Hewitt's next. Are you done?
Insurance sucks, accept it. You're going to check everybody's insurance anyway. And then just tell them that they haven't met their deductible, and they'll be like, yeah, that makes sense because I have a $10,000 deductible, and then you go cash anyway. That's all you need to know.
So Jordan asked, what did you say to people when they tried to sell you products? That's really an easy one. Just be like, listen, I don't like when I walk in other doctors' offices and they have supplements, pillows, whatever else, and I don't know what they do there. Like, I don't want that in my office. I went to school for chiropractic. That's all I want to focus on. That's what I'm good at. End of story. That usually shuts them up. Easy.
But then sometimes you have oil people that just walk in your front door and leave you with a diffuser.
Yeah, we got some sweet oils this week. So that works.
We're just using her oils for the next week because we diffuse them because we have a salon next door and it always makes our office smell like acetone.
All right. Nick wrote, how early is too early when taking deposits? I would, whatever events you do, take deposits at, even if it's 2 months out, still take deposits on it. Ken asked, how did you score a hottie like Dolan?
It wasn't that hard.
A lot of money. Did you find it easier to sign non-networking patients for care? That's actually a really good question. So we've had a lot of people that we met out networking. They tend to seem to be more on the side of like friends. So they come in and they just want to kind of feel it out and like see what you're all about, just so they know a little bit more about what you do. And then they just, when it comes down to like the financials and the report of findings, they're just like, yeah, thanks, I'm okay. And it's like, oh, awesome. All right.
Bye.
So that'll definitely happen for sure. I definitely think it's easier when
you don't know them.
Yeah, when you meet someone out and you know that they actually have some things going on and you can tell them how you're gonna help them, and you get a kind of baseline and where they're at, and then you take them through the entire day one process. Like all these people you meet out networking, like unless they scheduled at a health talk or something like that, if they just I don't know. It's definitely gonna be different for each person.
Yeah. So that's one thing that we've done. So if it's somebody who's a part of my networking group, he usually does their day one, and vice versa, just because sometimes there is just that little bit of a weird, like, oh, I've hung out with you and like had coffee with you, and now we're going to talk about my IBS. Like, it's just weird for some people. Obviously, you still try to walk with that authority, but some people are just uncomfortable, especially because we're young and it's hard for them to see us as their doctor.
Evan, this is a great question. How did you draw your blueprints, graph paper, website? So I would definitely do your research on this. Now, we spent entirely too much money on our blueprints and drawings. I'll tell you right now, we spent over $10,000 on them. Don't do that.
So
I did them on graph paper, and they were better than the blueprints that they drew. No joke. Literally, I had to resubmit my graph paper drawings that they would have to change, and my graph paper drawings were more accurate.
So reason it cost that much is we also had a designer help us with our office. So
Don't get one of those either.
Our office is beautiful.
Just look at other EMT offices and copy whatever they're doing. Don't hire an interior designer until you're doing
It wasn't
really well.
necessary, but I love our office.
All right. When did you start doing health talks in school, or made them for yourselves? I think we started doing them our first peak.
Mm-hmm.
We honestly didn't do many, but that's really when we started doing them. We did a couple for Dr. Anne Marie Campbell, who's in Dunwoody, Georgia. And then we did a bunch for Dr. Sarah here in Knoxville. So we really started when we were peaking.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely if you can start earlier than that. If you can get, I'm sure doctors will let you go in and do health talks for them, no problem. So definitely start as soon as you can. I know you guys are all close to graduating, so definitely get on that. Kind of technique specific question from Thomas, but what's your verbiage explaining TRT to some of the big guys y'all been adjusting, to use the guitar string analogy? No, we kind of just explain it the exact same way. Like, we have this one guy under care who's probably like 5'4", just literally like shoulders are massive. You can't even see it's in this picture. It's too small. But Kristin explained the adjustment to him, same as she does everyone else, and he gets it. I mean, he's a weightlifter. He was in pain, and now after a few adjustments, he's feeling so much better. So, I mean, you definitely can cater it towards bigger people. But a lot of times, like, those are the ones that after you adjust them, they'll actually come back and be like, man, I feel really sore.
Yeah, that's always fun when they come back and they're like, oh, man, I didn't know that little thing could do anything.
I don't know what that means to it. So anyway.
Can
you walk me through how you drew your blueprints? Oh, a napkin, yeah. I get it. Can you walk me through? Oh, stupid thing.
Okay, so our office is about 20 by 80.
Which go measure your office before you go, because ours was not 20 by 80. We lost like an extra 60 square feet or something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to say right now, we are not happy with our landlord, and I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, so how I did the blueprints. I did each box on the graph paper as 2 square feet. So that makes it easy, so you can kind of graph out how your adjusting rooms will be, and it's just make each box 2 by 2. That's it. And then you won't take up the full sheet of graph paper. So
one thing that we also did, just because of the shape of our space, was we kind of had to finagle things a little bit. So what we did is we actually laid out tape in our living room, and we just taped out how big each of the rooms would be, or how big we would need it to be for it to feel spacious enough, and so we would have enough room to move around. And then we actually got out like our folding table and actually laid it out exactly how we would want it to be, so that we always knew that it would be exactly what we needed, because we were kind of crunched for space in the width of our office.
So Ronnie asked, what modalities do we do in the office? So we do ultrasound, e-stim, KT tape. We
don't do any.
TENS units, hydroculator packs.
All right.
All right, Kane is not under care. He will be, though. Don't worry about that.
We have his x-rays.
He would ask, I know every state is different, but did you find any compliances that caused you to have to change any of your original plans? No, but I will give you some other tips that we dealt with where we had to change our entire blueprints around. So in regards to our electrical box, Like there was a certain code in Tennessee or Knoxville, whatever one it was, that it couldn't be like a certain distance from the door, and we couldn't have build a wall in front of it. It had to be like 3 feet away, like all around it. I could explain that better if I drew it, but you can go back.
We just had to
listen
shift the way the rooms went. It wasn't a big deal. We just had to be a little creative.
that.
And now instead of a wall in front of our storage room, we have a shower curtain hanging, and nobody knows.
It looks awesome.
You can't see it. It's all the way back in the corner.
And then as far as ADA compliancy, that was a big thing. We actually failed our permitting twice because of a door handle on our pocket door. It had to be ADA compliant, and no one ever gave us a straight answer on what that meant. So if you really want to know which handles are ADA compliant, I could probably tell you because I've looked at every single one that there is out there, which we don't have one. I actually put a shower door, a shower handicap handle on there, and it worked. So I'll let you know about that too if you ask.
Which somebody actually complimented us on our door handle, which I thought was very ironic.
So gowns, we bought 48 adult gowns to start with. They are not the nicest ones, but they work. I thought they'd be a lot thinner than they are, but they work pretty good, and they're not see-through. And then we bought 24 pediatric gowns, I believe.
But you really don't need pediatric gowns. Most kids will just take their shirt
Yeah.
off anyway. They don't care, but they're cute.
And in our first few weeks, we obviously didn't need them because we didn't have the show up rate like we were expecting. But if that's the case, just go home and wash them, Ronnie. During breaks in school, would you recommend going into offices and serving or spending looking time at locations? 100% going into offices and serving. Like looking at locations, you can do it on, like before you're going to bed, looking at pictures. That's really, then just take one weekend and go look at them all in one weekend.
Yeah, actually looking at spaces doesn't really take that much time.
Yeah. Where did you find your chairs and how much per chair? I found them on Craigslist. I find everything on Craigslist because I don't know why.
He's really good at it.
I got 30 chairs for $275. So you can do that math. I think it's under.
It's under $10. It's like $8 a chair.
And they're nice chairs. All right, guys. That's no more questions. Oh, man. Since we're talking blueprints, is X-ray room size specific to state? And if not, how big does it need to be? This is obviously one major thing. I honestly didn't find this code in any Tennessee like legislator or whatever that I was reading. So I kind of just took it from asking other AMP offices in Tennessee, like what size X-ray room they had. And it worked. So I don't know what's in the code, what's not in the code, and that fit our space. So
yeah, he had the drawing done, and by the time that we had found the guy that we were going to buy our X-ray unit from, the space was plenty, so it wasn't an issue.
Our office is 1,540 square feet.
It's 18.9 wide and 80 feet long. It was supposed to be 20 feet wide, which that 15 inches is a big deal. Don't make it weird.
All right, that's it. You guys are done. No more questions.
Yeah, if you guys do, we tried to be as transparent as possible. That's one thing that I've...
Nice, Jeff.
As soon as I said it. We try to be really transparent because I think that's one thing that, you know, we felt we kind of got misled a little bit. Just that, you know, these expectations are set, which are incredible. But you never really see the dirty side of it and all the hard work that goes into it. And the guys that, you know, the McClymans and the Daniel Wallace and everybody like that, that's just crushed it right out of the gate, they absolutely deserve it. Because now going through this process, we've seen what it takes to get there. And those guys are animals. So, you know, just understand that it's not given to you just because you went through AMPed and you were involved in club. You're going to have to bust your butt regardless. And I think that's one thing that, you know, maybe I felt a little entitled to it, if we're being honest. I felt a little entitled to it because we busted our butt while we were still in school. And then I thought it would just kind of come easy to us as we got open. And we've still done well in practice, but we're finding out that, you know, we still got to bust our butt as much as we were before. And even more so, we have to be a lot more focused and disciplined in areas that we just weren't, and it's coming through. So I hope that answers stuff for you. if you guys have any questions seriously about anything, finances,
Don't ask me about boards.
Besides that, if you guys have any questions, we're not shy to share anything. I think it's important that you get to see the reality of it and what's really happened.
Yeah, ask who came up. Walter came up.
Anthony Lopez.
And Evan. They came up. We literally shared every single thing we have in our office. So we're not going to give that. You guys got to come get it. So
we have a screening come up.
No, but seriously, like obviously those are some of the things that they don't tell you in the Jumpstart in the AMP program is like specific numbers. Like we actually have a spreadsheet on what we're paying monthly for everything, broken down per month, like how much we have free for a certain amount of months, and then once our full whatever starts, how much we're paying for that. And then we also have our like personal budgets totally broken out. So that's just stuff we want to share with you because we weren't really given that when we were students. And then we broke down how much we're collecting a month and how many people we have to see to meet our overhead, and literally all the nitty gritty details that you really want to know and you need to know to run a successful business, but you just don't really get the raw numbers when you're actually hearing all like these people collect $100,000 a month or something, but it's like how much of that is just billed versus how much they're collecting and what their overhead is and how much they're actually taking home. Taxes, I still don't really know everything about taxes. We're still learning that. We haven't hit our quarterly taxes yet, so that'll be interesting when we get there.
That'll be a fun chapter.
But yeah, no, if you guys really have any questions, though, feel free to reach out via text message or email, whatever. Give me a call. Doesn't matter. Reach out to me on Facebook. Tag me in something. Jeff does need to study for boards because he's a genius. That's good.
You should still study, Jeff.
But yeah, you guys don't have any other questions, so yeah. Thank you guys for having us on the call. We really appreciate it, and hopefully you guys learned a little something of what to do, what not to do. So again, reach out to us, Dr. Ryan Dolan, Dr. Kristin Drumheller, Thrive Chiropractic.
Thank you. Signing off.
That was a good sign off. Appreciate it.
All right. Good night, guys.